In Hello Roger, we offer a listening ear to viewers with problems. The mailbox has served for years in all weather conditions, but it has seen better days. Wood rot has set in, so Roger will make a new corpus and front panels and make the whole thing weatherproof again. The concrete plywood is partially weathered and can be removed, but it is still partially anchored with some silicone. Roger cuts it loose with a cutter. But don't worry, you can also use some rough material. The corpus was apparently also fixed with some dots of PU foam, an idea that we will adopt later. Quickly clean up some dirt and then we can measure. Time to measure. Width and length, of course. Check a few points each time. The laid bricks are probably well aligned, but there can sometimes be some play due to the joints and curves of the bricks. Custom work is measuring. Roger remakes the interior of the mailbox with 12mm thick concrete plywood. Even though the sheet material is inside the mailbox, it is somewhat better suited for moist conditions. Transfer the measurements, work square. It's not custom work for a furniture cabinet that we will look at later, but you don't want the doors to end up crooked. Clamp your workpieces and saw them out. If you already have some panels, it never hurts to test them out. It saves you a few seconds of work time, but it can save you many more minutes if you notice a mistake now. Checking never hurts. For convenience, Roger works on the driveway close to the mailbox, so sometimes it requires a bit of improvisation. To assemble the panels somewhat perpendicularly to each other, he clamps some concrete plywood in such a way that he can fix his workpiece against the straight factory edge each time. Get some wood glue that is specifically designed for outdoor applications and is weather resistant to ensure a strong and durable bond. Secure the panels together with a few nails and make sure they are properly aligned for added stability and security. Wipe away the excess glue. Not that it matters much. The corpus will soon be out of sight anyway, but it's just more convenient if you don't have to constantly handle the corpus with sticky glue residues on your hands. Continue like this with the remaining panels. A bit of gluing, some hammering, and cleaning up the glue. The letters will later be deposited in an upper drawer, and there will be a door at the bottom to deliver packages. So, the box still needs a shelf in the middle. Just measure and transfer the dimensions. The rest of the assembly follows. You get the idea. Before the corpus is definitively put in place, do a quick check to ensure the custom work is correct. It's better to touch up a corner or an edge now, before we start working with the PU foam. You want the whole thing to be aligned with the bricks later. You can quickly check that with a level. The intention is to finish the edges with a cover strip. Let's saw a few wedges from our leftover wood. The clamps are used to temporarily secure the corpus, so it doesn't shift until the gaps are filled with PU foam. Check with the level to ensure everything is nicely aligned. Prepare the PU foam by shaking it briefly. Your skin may not tolerate the product well, so it's best to wear gloves to avoid contact with any possible splashes. Fill the gaps 1/3 full. The filling capacity of the foam is large, so only a small amount needs to be used. After curing, the excess PU foam can be cut away. To finish the sides, an edging strip will be added. Measure, mark, and saw it out. Here, Meranti has been used with a good durability class to withstand the weather elements for many years. And besides that, we will still treat it. Pre-drill a bit and then screw it into the underlying corpus. A few screws, and that will be sufficient. Ensure that the screw head is countersunk. Once the sides are attached and securely, do the same for the cross slats. This way, the end edges of the concrete plywood corpus are better protected properly against the weather elements. There will of course be some doors added to the mailbox. Otherwise rain and wind would have free play with the mail. Measure at multiple points. Then you can always slightly adjust the front panel if there is still a millimeter of play that has crept into the construction. Transfer the measurements. For the front panels, we use plywood. With a good coat of paint or stain, this will hold up well against the rain. It would be too costly to use a full sheet of Meranti here. A do-it-yourselfer always thinks logically, right? Take the base plate of the circular saw into account. Measure the distance from the base plate to the saw blade, and add this to the previously measured dimension. A small tip, write down that distance with a marker on your machine. The next time you use it, you will find that distance immediately. Clamp a guide to the saw to make straight cuts. And repeat for the second front panel. Check if both pieces fit. Again, you can always make adjustments if necessary. The doors still need some hinges to function. Choose a galvanized version or stainless steel, so it is better protected against the formation of corrosion. It is useful to start with a panel, position and mark the holes. Screw each hinge in place. For larger packages, the front panel opens and closes at the bottom with a simple sliding lock. Quickly screw that in place. The panel should not drag against the casing, so lift it slightly at 2 points. This can be anything, calibration blocks, wedges, as long as it is always the same thickness. And to simply attach the lock, there is an accompanying bracket to mount. Then, repeat everything again for the other panel. A mailbox is only complete with a lock. The principle is simple. You install the cylinder lock in the lock hole. A plate with a notch rotates with the key and is fixed from behind against the panel. Position where you want the lock to be. Place the plate with the notch and mark where you will need to drill through the wood to get the cylinder of the lock through. Take a wood drill that can remove as much wood as possible if necessary. Do it in multiple passes. Once the cylinder lock fits in and hooks nicely with its neck, you're good. To secure the lock, a fleet with hooks is added, which you can drive into the wood with a few taps. Secure it with the accompanying nut, and then simply insert the lock. That is easiest if you work with the key itself. From now on, you can turn the lock and the lock plate will turn along from the back. Now make a few notches in the corpus, so that when the lock is closed, the lock plate can latch into it. The notch must be at the same height as the lock, and you also need to measure the distance where the lock plate will be positioned on the panel. Remove the piece. In our case, this can be done sufficiently with a bench hammer and a wood chisel. After some chiseling, the recess is ready and the door closes perfectly. You want to give the wood some extra protection. With paint, it is best to apply a primer first. A stain is applied directly to the bare wood. Saturate the wood sufficiently, and if necessary, apply a few more layers. Moist air or driving rain can still sneak in through the gaps around the cover slats. A bit of silicone certainly won't hurt. An extra task that will significantly improve durability. Do you have a problem that Roger might be able to help you with? Then send an email to roger.dobbitb